Uh, so yeah, this is. I just wanted to blog about what I feel about Overdress right now. Because I think Overdress in general is in a pretty good state. I also have a guide to keep me on track. Say hi, Kuro.
Hello, I guess. You're
Yeah,
using
so
6 triggers, lol.
yeah, using 6 triggers. Lol. Baka is using 6 triggers because I'm gonna do this. So currently I personally feel that Overdress is probably one of the best formats we've gotten in a well, not the best format, but it's definitely fun, right? It's fun, right, Kuro? So far.
Yeah, I agree. It's fun. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, so it's indeed fun. And I just want to talk about how each deck kind of plays and how I feel about them and what I feel about the format in general. But so first, I think we should address the elephant in the room, which is the worst thing about the format.
Okay.
These over triggers.
Sure.
So wait, hee. So over triggers are by far the most divisive topic about the game right now. They they generally are considered to be very badly designed. In particular, the Keter one. This one. The Keter one is considered to be the worst designed of all these over triggers because it is impossibly funny how unfair it is at times.
I mean, here's the thing. It's more like it's unbalanced because they're designing it, thinking mine with the actual decks, while the other cards are other triggers are more generic.
Yeah, well, let's take this one for example. The DE one, any deck can use it, but it really doesn't change much of how DE plays. Like,
Until,
yeah,
hang on. Until he gets a Vanguard centric deck.
Yeah.
And you don't have it there right now.
like, yeah, sure, you get another extra 10k with Nirvana, but even then, that's not really the point anymore. Your deck, you already have big numbers, so it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything that you get an extra restand, but it's just nice to have. Generally the worst one is considered to be the Dark States one, but even then, it's very oppressive to play against when it does happen. It just feels bad to play against, and that's generally the biggest issue with all of these other triggers. They just feel bad to play against.
Agreed.
I guess I should explain why they feel bad to. Well, drawing into them is fine. I think everyone agrees that drawing into them. Everyone I've talked to agrees that drawing into them is not the problem. The problem is when they're damage checked or they're drobe checked. So generally, what happens when just to explain, what happens when it's damage checked is you give one unit 100 million power or whatever. I said 1 million, but it really doesn't matter. And then, so you essentially normally give it to your Vanguard, and that's 1,000. The biggest issue with that is that this overtrigger is then healed. It's removed from game. So it ends up being, not only did you end up nullifying the attack completely, you then prevent any other attacks.
Also, you draw a card.
You draw a card, but the bigger issue is you nullified that attack. Why? Like, there's absolutely no reason for this. This is overkill. This is one the heal is overkill, and it's even an even better heal because you can also do it if you have lower damage than your opponent. So you're in a position where you're just staring at your opponent, you're losing, and then he overtriggers, and then you're losing even more.
Pretty much.
And it's just unfortunate. On the offense, it varies, I guess. But generally, they're also game winning. We talked about the Keter one already. Why it's game winning, because you just go +6. Well, no, +4. It's +4 essentially.
+4.
Not unless you're Hexorb, and then it's +6 because you have Lephisto, and she restands, and she gets to go again.
Yep.
Which is a little awkward.
It doesn't have to be +6. It can be +8 if you like CB4, but like, you know.
Yeah, but let's face it, you're not gonna. That's very rare. Those are very rare scenarios.
That is very
Generally,
rare.
I personally think the most fair is this one. Bless Favor. Like, if it wasn't for the 100 million and the extra draw, this effect is actually kind of fair. I actually can see this effect in game as a one-off in a deck.
Yeah.
It's not.
I mean,
It's also like kind of fun to see. Like it's basically a trigger that just combines everything together. So that generally is fun. But what I'm getting at is these over triggers right now, in the state they are, they're just not fun to play against. They feel disgusting when they hit. They actually ruin a lot of what could have been fun games, in my opinion. Because of how they damage thing, how they completely well, it's not even completely swing. It's how win more they probably feel, right?
I guess, like, but at the same time, like, it also makes, it, like, even if you're losing, if you check it at the opportune time to offensively,
Yeah.
basically you have the optimal setup or enough optimal setup, you can literally swing the game even though like you're way behind.
There's also a discussion worth saying how bad they are in the early game, actually. Except for the Dark States one, which is the exception to the rule, I guess. Hitting like this one, the Brand Gate one, Eldo Brett, feels extremely bad. It's still crit, I guess, but
here's the thing: the worst one to hit early is the Keter one.
yeah, it's definitely the Keter one. But generally, over triggers are better late game anyway.
Except the Dark State one.
Yeah, the Dark States one is the exception to the rule, which is why it's kind of weird as an over trigger. I've seen a lot of games where people lose even though they check it turn 1. I've seen a couple games. I mean, not a lot.
Yeah, because the 100 million power you actually want to abuse by using it mid game, but
yeah,
the effect itself is an early game oriented effect, which kind of contradicts with the overtrigger mechanic.
I honestly think the Stoicheia one isn't as effective as the Cray States one, the Cray Elemental one, but I honestly think it should have the overtrigger should have just been like those two effects, because right now I think the effects are kind of ruining overtrigger 100%. The worst and most egregious, I guess, part of it.
Guess I can do that.
But like, I'm not gonna say if they need to be removed from the game or like severely nerfed, because like both sides are right. The only thing that I'm 100% sure on is they cannot remain in the state they are in, because right now they're just really unfun. It's, you say play around, but then the moment it just gets checked and you try, even if you play around, it just doesn't feel good to get hit by or even get at times.
I mean, like, how do you play around it even at times? They're like,
yeah, right. There's sometimes you just can't play around it. Like, oh, keep your PG, guard the to pass the thing. But then, yeah, you get hit by the overtrigger. So yeah, I just don't think they're healthy for the game at the current state of it all. I mean, I'm for both removing them and for just nerfing them to the ground. Like, because I think right now, whatever it is, it's just not fair. I do like the state though. If Bushi doesn't want to even touch the things, they don't want to touch them. The one big change I'd like to see, if it's not, remove or change the overtrigger, how the overtrigger works fundamentally, is ban the Keter one. The Keter one is by far the most craziest. It's the craziest thing you ever see in your life. I seen a guy. I have an unlisted video on this channel. Maybe I'll link it. I'll see. We'll see. In this channel, where a guy 0 to 6s someone, and then goes from 2 cards in hand to 10. It's pretty crazy what this thing can do. It's definitely the strongest of the overtriggers, and it's definitely the one that probably needs changing the most. Okay, but we've been here for too long. Let's move on to the next topic. So let me just get rid of these guys. They'll come back later, especially when we talk about Soikea.
Before we move on, one other thing is like other than Keter, there is one more.
You meant the Brandgate one, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, the Brandgate one's also pretty crazy.
The problem with Brandgate right now is the deck. The deck it has sucks, but like the effect of Brandgate Overtrigger is like really crazy.
Yeah, just the crit alone is pretty crazy. A front crit is pretty nice.
Yeah. This card's literally a triple critical trigger.
I wish it. I kind of wished it just was a front and a crit for the entire reign. That would have been a little more interesting. But the double power is kind of crazy.
Crazy.
Alright, let's get rid of those. So the next thing we're talking about is Nirvana. I think Nirvana is a very fine deck.
It's a very fine deck.
I'm biased though. So with Nirvana, you have these two as your main like win cons. Arcs is a crazy +2 card, and you don't. However, I like the state though. Arcs is generally only played turn 2, and if you have extra CB, you generally don't play it any other time unless you are playing it to do this, to overdress Arcs onto Valiente, something like that. Valiente is a pretty good card as well, just because it hits numbers. It's also the booster, the 10k booster is actually really good in this deck because it really helps Valiente. It helps Valiente hit 38 every game.
Yeah.
And you have to like, and if you get poked by a Valiente to 38, you have to guard it even before the Vanguard swing because yeah, it's gonna restand and you're gonna feel even worse when it restands and it's still like 28 or something like that. It's still 28, right?
Yeah. Let's see. We're talking about without Persona, right?
Yeah, we're talking about without Persona. 28 without Persona, 38 with Persona.
Yes.
So yeah. Generally the game plan is very simple. It's a very effective deck. It's also a very gimmicky, like, how do I put it? Like, it's a very thematic deck, I guess. Like, when you play the deck, it's a very simple deck to play, but you feel the theme of the deck. You can see the Trickster coming back from Nirvana's first skill, which is discard a card, choose a grade 0, which is normally Trickster, right? And call it. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
It's a pretty fun mechanic, and the overdressing thing. However, I do like to note, if they do get bounce, if somehow DE gets like a bounce card, Nirvana is gonna be used for something else.
I mean, I guess.
You know what they're gonna use it for, right?
I mean, here's the thing. Bounce is.
Yep.
I guess I can see bounce because.
I mean,
was bounce.
I mean, when we talk about Zorga, it'll remind you.
Yeah.
Like I'd take a discard from hand to bounce that thing, to do the Zorga trick 100%. But yeah, generally it's the most fine deck. I think it's actually, I would say it's probably the most balanced deck in the game right now.
I can see what you think that, yeah.
But yeah, my only issue is it's definitely also the one that's most affected by triggers. Your triggers will determine how your game goes and how your game feels. Like if someone heals on you, it feels it feels extra bad on Nirvana. Because you just generally don't have enough tricks or enough plussing to save yourself. Your only plussing is by using arcs, and if you use arcs, you will then run out of CB. Because you also have to use 1 CB a turn for Nirvana. So yeah, that's but yeah, overall great deck. I think it's probably one of the better decks in the format right now. What do you think, Kuro?
Yeah, I can see it. I forgot. It was like, I don't know. I can see it being like top 4, top 3.
I think it's top 4. I don't think it's top 3.
Yeah.
So let's get rid of this guy because I need arcs for the next topic. Hello, sure. Eugene. Oh, poor Eugene. Eugene is actually not bad. It's just he doesn't win games.
Exactly. What is his game plan?
His game plan is just to retire and be gassy. Basically, you never, from what I've seen, from the good games of Eugene I've seen, you do not use his Soul Blast 5. You never use it. It is a bad move. It almost always sucks to use. So never, just don't use it.
I mean, here's the thing. Eugene is a combination of old Gold Paladin and old Kagero, where Kagero was the retired dot deck, like the
Yep.
master, stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%.
Here's the thing, both decks sucked.
Yeah, they did. But
Both decks, when played in their purest form, as in like top deck calling on the main phase, and
retire.
pure
Just,
retire for the sake of retiring, they both sucked.
yeah. I do like the stay, though. Like, I think the first effect, the retire, get 10k, is actually really good.
Can
For
see
rest
that.
too. Especially considering that, from some builds I've seen, some people play arcs. They play arcs with Eugene, and they play tricksters. So you could just rest the tricksters, then you can overdress them, which gets you a standing column.
Apparently, it gives you a standing column.
Yeah, because apparently apparently overdress is considered a new call, so it isn't like it isn't like Greydora.
I see.
So you can just rest the trickster, call arcs on it, get your +2, and you basically copied Eugene's effect, because most of the time you're not calling 5 from Eugene, because you're also trying to refresh your soul. So you're putting all the triggers you get into the soul anyway. I think it's currently the biggest issue of the deck is there's no win con.
Yep.
But I think there's potential. It's definitely savable.
Here's the thing. I think it needs a new ace card, and by then it's not Eugene anymore.
Yeah, I could also see that. But I'm retired too. Another thing to note is Eugene games take forever to play. He's stalling. He's definitely stalling people really pretty hard. It's just, he's not doing much with that stall.
Exactly.
Anyway, but I think he's definitely not even considered for meta. But he's definitely not he's not like an unplayable deck. There's something here. It's definitely unfinished. Let's talk about 100% unfinished. Ooh, here we go. Bruce. Competitor for best deck in the format, 100%.
Yeah, at least. Personally, I think it's top 2. A lot of people think it's top 3.
It's top 2. It's top 2. It's top 2. I don't think it's top 3. Like, I think basically
this deck is guaranteed to be a top. If this deck is anywhere below top 3 in anyone's mind, you should not talk to them.
Yeah, it is definitely a top 3. The other thing, like, I want to say is, because we have some JP results right now, Bruce is definitely topping in JP. He's definitely topping in Japan at this current moment. As of the first weekend of Overdress, official Overdress play, Bruce has seen a bit of topping already. Generally, the game plan, I didn't put Marjorie in the deck, but generally the game plan with Bruce is you just be patient. Just be patient. You use your Edens to swing into rear guards, so you retire. If they don't guard it, you retire too, so you slow the game down immensely. Then once you get to Final Rush, Marjorie's just win you the game. Then you just draw like 5 cards, and then you stabilize super hard. And then you also have pressure. I think the correct build has, what's his name? The Titan Golem guy? The one the grade 3 that gets 15k?
Colossus, yeah.
Yeah, Colossus, yeah. I think generally the right builds have that. Because, 15k is actually really good. It turns out, with Bruce, because anytime you restand, it's pretty powerful. So it's basically 30k power.
It's 28k without Persona Ride, but you're mostly
Yeah, you're most
gonna
likely Persona because of we should also talk about Protobulb. Protobulb is a really crazy card because the moment you see a Bruce and Soul, you will have Persona Ride all the time.
Yes, you are guaranteed your Persona Ride for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
As long as you have CB.
Or here's the other thing about the Protobulb. If you soul charge your Overtrigger, if you soul charge your PGs, you can grab them back. So you can make a choice if you want the pressure with, if you want to go offensive with Bruce for the next turn, or if you need the shield, you grab like an Overtrigger or a PG.
Yes.
So yeah, generally Protobulb as if Bruce makes it to turn 4, even if he's sitting at 4 damage, 5 damage, he's going to stabilize. So be very afraid. So be very afraid of that. In general. Yeah, but final thoughts. It's definitely the second best. It's definitely top 2 for sure. I don't think that's a hot take.
No. I agree.
Let's talk about the next guy, Barrow.
Sure.
You just bought Barrow, right?
I bought both Bruce and Barrow. Yes.
I mean, considering that some people think one Barrow's right, anyone can build a Barrow deck.
I also think one Barrow is right.
Yeah, so one Barrow. This is a deck you actually kind of don't want a Persona Ride in. Strangely enough.
No, it's more like you do want the Persona Ride, but you want the card slot in your deck to soul charge.
Yeah.
So that kind of conflicts with each other.
Also, the draw can technically hurt you.
It can, but at the same time, if you actually manage to get 15 soul and get the Persona Ride, you get 38 columns of Sonicer.
Yeah.
On your 4th and 5th attack. That's 38k.
Yeah, that's basically Barina. That's basically like a Valiente Barina stuff going.
Yes, except you don't need to hit.
The other thing worth considering is that this is also a tempo deck.
Very funnily so, yes.
Yeah, because of Gungam. We didn't talk about Gungam with Bruce, but Gungam is super powerful for both Bruce and Barrow. You just turns out if you know you can't win the matchup through 15k. So, hell, there's a lot of matchups you don't need 15k. Yeah, 15 soul. I said 15k. 15 soul, you don't need a lot. You don't need it half the time. You could just stay around 10 to 13 soul and just keep drawing with Gungam. So you end up having like 2 draws you end up having 2 extra draws a turn, while still having soul, while still having the crit and the extra 10k on Barrow. So this is a very flexible deck. Contentiously, a lot of people don't think it's good. I think it's okay as well. I definitely don't think it's top 4 or top 3. But top 5, I'm willing to say top 5. So I'm willing to say it's the 5th best deck in the format.
Sure, that works. Like this deck is crazy, but there's one problem that you haven't addressed is that it's kind of somewhat inconsistent.
Yeah, it's inconsistent. It's in the 15k. The 15 soul. 15 soul. Why am I keep saying 15k? It's probably because we were just talking about Colossus.
Yes.
So the 15 soul is extremely inconsistent. I've definitely gone like 10 games without getting it. However, the tempo style is definitely consistent. So in the matchups you play tempo, the deck is actually kind of consistent. In the matchups you're playing for the 15 soul, which is this is the Bruce, the Keter, the Bastion decks where you need to board wipe them consistently. You will have issues. You definitely will have issues.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think it's definitely a fine choice. You're not throwing by taking Barrow, I feel. But
I feel like you actually have a good chance to win.
Yeah, overall, Dark State's pretty good. It's a pretty good nation, so if you want to bias a playset of Dark State stuff, I wouldn't fault you for it. I think it's a little questionable considering that Barrow is at 1 in some people's lists.
I would still invest in
Yeah,
at
but
least 2 better.
yeah, but yeah, I definitely invest in dark states. If you are interested in dark states in any way, I'd invest in it 100% right now.
Yes.
All right, what are we talking about next? We're talking about gross. We're talking about Bastion. I hate Bastion is such a it's such a it's such a funny deck that everyone I remember initially when Bastion was revealed, everyone thought it was going to be one of the worst decks.
I guess.
Everyone was saying, "Oh, you're gonna run like how many grade 3s are you gonna run? You're not gonna have shield." That was got proven wrong quickly.
I mean, like if you draw a lot of cards, even if your hand is not a shield, the other half is a shield. That's basically the normal size of like.
And even then,
deck's hand, yeah.
And even then, you see what's her name, the angel Kobiko, the high school DxD guy.
You have a weird naming sense, I must say.
No, I don't know Kobiko. I forget the name. I just know that it's definitely like an archangel, like a fallen.
Yeah.
And that angel appeared in high school DxD. So yeah, so that angel essentially also turns all your grade 3 into shields.
Here, it's Kokabiel.
Yeah, Kokabiel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the name. I don't play Bastion, so this is actually one of the decks that I don't have a big opinion on, or at least a solid opinion on.
I mean, I've piloted a few times. It's one of like surprisingly, it's very easy to play.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't really need to think about most of your plays, but like, of course you get reward if you actually think about it.
Especially because all your cards are grade 3. Like I think the one of the better builds right now is the one that just forgoes all grade 1s and 2s, except for Rydek. Yeah. And just plays all grade 3s. So you legitimately you will slap all cards on the field.
Yes.
And it won't matter. You don't have to consider shield because they were never shields to begin with. And the moment they are shields, that card only looks at how many grade 3s are on the field.
Exactly.
So you essentially don't have to think about defense. You just need to go in. However, there is one really bad thing about this deck.
And that is?
It doesn't have an early game shield game at all.
Nor does it have an early game.
Yeah, it doesn't have an early game either. But even then, I think that's fair in this meta, especially this meta right now. A lot of early game. The only early game deck is really Barina or Overdress.
And Magnolia, actually.
And what?
Magnolia, actually.
Oh yeah, I guess Magnolia too. So there's a lot of people that can't really abuse we'll get to Magnolia, but like the DE matchup's interesting because the moment DE runs out of gas, you just run them through, and you have a lot of gas because hey, it turns out Pot of Greed is a good card, right?
Yeah, you run 8 of them at most.
8 of them, and you don't have CB, and Fosad's another good card. And I was talking about Fosad. There he is! He's just sitting there, menacingly, uninteractable.
It has resist. It on hit countercharge from Soul Charge 1, and it's on a deck that can restand it. Wow.
Well, though you're only restanding it if you need to threaten people with first counter charge, because otherwise you're using the triple R. I forget his name.
It's Alden.
Yeah, Alden. You're using Alden because Alden just hits bigger numbers.
Yeah, but here's the thing: Fosad forces it forces awkward guarding.
It definitely does.
So, like, assume you have Persona, right? And then you have Rafluke. That's 33k.
Yeah, it's 30.
Fosad. By then, your opponent either has to guard it or takes it, and you can pot of greed next turn.
Yep.
So it's a win-win situation.
I do want to state though, Fosad is really bad in the DE matchup, in particular just because DE is giving you damage anyway. So you like you can sure you can threaten the third pot of greed, but by then you'll never get to play it.
I mean, at the same time, you know, the third pot of greed lets him have more gas.
Yeah, but
yeah.
But yeah, but what I'm saying is like the game, the Overdress versus Bastion matchup ends turn 4. It's one of the it's one of the few consistent things about that matchup. It's decided by turn 4.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you have an argument for restanding Fosad and like doing it on turn 3, especially if you want first. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You want first.
So yeah, but like Bastion. So yeah, Bastion is he's a surprisingly tanky deck for his how he's designed. He's surprisingly easy. His ceiling is really high. He's also Keter, so he can abuse the Keter overtrigger. I think it's the best deck in the format. I don't think anyone can change me out of it.
I think a lot of people agree, and I do also agree.
There's just no way. There's like especially since shields are so low, the fact that this is that he gives 10k on a multi-attack for free is actually kind of huge.
Exactly.
And a discard from hand doesn't hurt when you realize that you're discarding a grade 3.
Exactly. They actually made a Morikawa deck good.
Yeah.
And they overdid it, to be fair.
I don't know if it's overdone because I don't think it's too far off from Bruce's power, but I definitely think the fact it has a turn 3 just puts it above Bruce. Anyway, so yeah, Bastion, really good investment if you really want. Talking about the next Keter deck, it's Hexorb. Hexorb's also
cool.
Yeah, Hexorb's a pretty cool card. I think one of the cool things about Hexorb is like I'm just gonna use this Fosad, is you attack with like this. If you attack like this, let's say this.
Assume it's a booster.
Yeah, assuming it's a booster. Say this gives like let's say it gives -5, right? -5. It gives 8k. Your opponent cannot technically 15 shield to pass.
First of all, they cannot anyway, because like 21 versus 15.
And I mean, well, yeah, but what I mean is, well, let's put it like this. Let's say this is a. I guess it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Let's just assume. This is 21k column. You got rid of 15k and then 5k. That's a 2 too fast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guard to get to 33. You think it's 2 to pass. It's not, thanks because of Hexorb's first skill. It gives you choose a rear guard, it gets 10k. So essentially what the Hexorb player can do is the moment they see a trigger, they give the trigger power to Hexorb and then they give the 10k to their booster, and suddenly they pass your 1 to pass. They pass your 2 to pass. So it's very dangerous to guard the to not have a PG in this matchup. It's extremely dangerous, actually. I say. Go ahead, Kuro. I was gonna say, I actually, if I know I'm gonna get to Hexorb, I actually hard mull for a PG because you cannot essentially take the first attack, or you can't even take any Vanguard attack without PGing it. Because it's just too dangerous, especially if they choose the boost.
Yeah, I can see that.
The other thing they have is Lepisto, the nun girl, Lepisto, and she restands if she sees a trigger. So they also have a multi-attack and poke. So, and generally that's the game plan. They just stall you. They force you into bad decisions because there is just a lot that can happen the moment they check a trigger. And they stack the deck. And by the way, they're stacking the deck with the Keter Overtrigger.
What?
Because they scry.
Remember, scry is not always called stacking.
Yeah, I guess, but you know what I mean by scry stack, right?
Yeah.
Because you leave a card on top of the deck.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're consistently pressuring you with the Overtrigger because they're consistently calling that grade 1 girl to keep on looking. Well, to keep on looking at the top 2 cards of the deck, and then they're moving it around. The other thing they're doing is they're calling the grade 2 Ride Chain girl to also look at the top of the deck and moving it around. And then also because because games tend to last a bit, this deck unintentionally has a Tsukuyomi. Tsukuyomi stack.
Yes.
So
in the case that sorry.
Go ahead, girl.
Okay, so in the case that you did not check, you did not stack you did not scry your Overtrigger, and you did not get them. You draw them, or you I don't know, soul charge them from faucet or something. You still have a stack of triggers, possibly.
Yeah, and because games generally, especially generally, you are pretty defensive of the deck. You have options to stall a bit. I've seen a couple games reach that stack.
Yes.
And it actually kind of matters because this moment you reach around 10 cards in deck, you should know exactly what's in your deck at that point. And what's on the top.
Yes.
I don't...
One more?
Sorry, go ahead.
One more thing that should be noted is that her Persona Right ability, her Card +1, Soul +1, it says to put a crit trigger or a front trigger to top from hand to top of the deck, but
you don't need to.
You don't need to. you can get a free CB1 +1.
Yeah, it's just a draw one basically. Well, it's a drive one, which is even better.
Exactly.
Because just don't say I don't have a crit trigger every time. Especially if you can't, you're not killing. Just say I don't got a crit trigger, and then
you do not need to say I don't have a crit trigger. You just need to say I put 0 crit triggers. That's it. Just choose 0.
Yep.
I said.
Yeah, that's what I was implying.
Up to 1.
0 is an option, basically. Remember that 0 is an option.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think Exorb overall is actually really powerful. I think it's probably... I think it's probably, closing into Tier 2. It probably might be Tier 2. But I could see Tier 3.
Somewhere around... I personally think it's it depends on where you put Dragon Empire. Nirvana.
I mean, I think it really depends on where you also favor Nirvana, because Nirvana is really the basis I feel right now of a good deck.
Yeah, so if you put Nirvana in low tier 1, then I will put Hexorb in mid-low tier 2. But if you put it in high tier 2, I'll put Hexorb in either low tier 2 or high tier 3.
Top of tier 3. I don't think it's even high tier 3. I think it's top of tier 3 at most. Because it's definitely powerful.
Yeah.
It's just a little tricky. It's a little trickier than the other decks.
No.
I mean, not in play style. I mean, it's generally easy to play. It's just, but I mean, it's trickier to position.
It's more the biggest potential this deck has is checking over triggers.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, it happens way more frequently than other decks, but it's still checking over triggers. Apparently it happens for Hexorb. It happens 1 to 4 or 1 to 5 games.
It happens, I think, a little more than that.
Yeah, basically it happens a lot more often.
Yeah, but that. If I don't have Lepisto stat up, but normally what happens when you hit an overtrigger is you do this, you overtrigger, you already drive 3, so you draw 3 cards. Then you attack. Lepisto can attacks. That's +2. Lepisto restands and attacks again. That's another +2.
Yeah.
And then whatever your third rearguard is attacks. And if you just happen to have the counter, if you have the CV for it, you can restand Lepisto again and get another +2. Yeah, that's the absolute I think I'll post that. I'll post a link, or I'll put an eye catch for that video. I had unlisted because we ended up the guy playing Hexorb ended up accidentally cheating. So unfortunate. He forgot the draw for a draw trigger. So, but yeah, you'll see. You'll see how crazy that deck is in that video. How crazy.
Okay, I'm sorry. Before we move on, I have one last thing to say about Hexorb. So the deck is pretty simple. Like the one thing that's kind of tricky about Hexorb is managing your resources, but not as in CB, because like you actually come across a decent amount of CB.
Yeah.
Managing your resources as in managing your scry cards, because like they're
you have limited amount. That's the issue.
So I mean, no scry cards, that's fine, but like having a scry card makes the difference between you committing with Lepisto or you risking a trigger miss with driving no triggers with while swinging with Lepisto.
Yeah.
So
that's why generally people attack with the Lepisto first, because they're too afraid.
Yeah.
So that generally this is a really strong deck. I don't know. I still need to see more testing on it, but I generally think it's a good deck now.
It's solid. All
right, let's get rid of Fosad and move on to Zorga. I actually think this is a really, really good deck, and it's not for the reason it's for the one simple reason you probably think I'm thinking the same. We're probably thinking the same thing.
Yes, but I also think like the deck itself is fairly decent. It's like pretty solid.
Yeah, it's basically the same as, it's kind of like a more defensive version of Overdress.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
It's definitely harder to play than Overdress.
It's also harder to build than Overdress because
there's a lot.
There's a lot thinking.
But why I think it's better than Overdress, and I think a lot of people are starting to move on to this train too, is because of the one order Ghost Case. I thought it was Ghost Case, but it's apparently Ghost Chase.
It's Ghost Chase.
Yeah. So Ghost Chase, what it does is you choose a unit that's not being attacked, and then you choose one unit, any unit, and it gets 5k, and then you choose another unit that's not being attacked, and it's bounced back to your hand. So what Zorga players are doing right now is let's just say they use Zorga skill, right? To CB1. They call their over trigger and then they ghost chase, they pick their over trigger, and then they over trigger.
They guard with over trigger.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, they guard with over trigger, which is a 50k shield. And that is an extremely strong interaction.
Yes.
It is one of the craziest things. Well, it's not exclusive to Zorga. Magnolia could do it too, but they need condensation, which is the G1 order that revives thing. But generally, this is primarily a Zorga technique, or the Zorga interaction.
Yeah.
So you generally, with Adamantis and with just Zorga's attackers, you generally hit like 33, 40k lanes, almost every turn after turn 4.
Yeah, agreed.
The other thing you could do is you could Ghost Chase a Zorga back to hand to confirm a Persona ride. So yeah, this is why I think like it's basically slightly harder to play Overdress, but more defensive and has a lot more tricks up its sleeve. But the game plan is generally the same. The game plan is generally the same. You're going to make as biggest lanes as possible, and you just need a relatively decent overgame. So you're usually mulling for 2 of the mill 3 girl. I don't have her right now, so because you just want to mill her over. You just want to make sure that, because that's the biggest issue with Zorga. You need an early game, and you need your pieces in your drop zone. Because the moment you don't see pieces in the drop zone, it's a little scary.
Yeah.
But generally, Zorga, really good deck. Look, I don't know if it's. I don't think it's doing well in Japan right now, but look forward. Keep an eye on it. It's definitely the Barista Kea deck.
Yeah, I mean, considering how Bruce is, cheaper than Zorga, quite more cheaper.
Yeah,
Actually,
that's also true. Like price wise in Japan, both the dark states are extremely cheap.
Yeah. Also, non-Nitros Grand Blue has not ever been really that popular. So
Yeah. So, yeah. This is definitely a deck worth considering. If you're considering to pick up a second deck, this is one of my biggest suggestions. Especially if the price stays the same, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to. I forgot Magnolia. Magnolia.
Yeah.
Well, Magnolia doesn't exist. It's okay. It's okay.
Surprisingly, people have been saying that it actually has a good matchup against Bastion, which is the best deck. So
Yeah, it's a.
technically, Magnolia is anti-meta.
It's anti-meta,
Technically.
but let's just quickly talk about it because I did forget. God dang it!
Alright.
I prepared this deck and everything, and I ended up forgetting Magnolia.
I mean, you're sin.
So
Not surprising.
yeah, but yeah, Magnolia is generally. I think it's fine. I think it has issues, mainly resource. It's a little too resource heavy for the game right now.
Yes.
And yeah, you're also piece reliant. So now, and you're also persona blast. You're persona reliant, without a way to
Yeah.
confirm persona.
Yeah, because unlike Hexorb can scry for days.
Yeah, and unlike well, technically, unlike its compatriot Zorga, who has a way to confirm it. Well, technically Magnolia can use it. It's not her game plan to do something like that. And you don't have the deck space for it, which is another issue.
Yes.
And my
alright.
computer died a bit. Sorry, but yeah, let's continue. But
Okay. I'm sorry. You go ahead.
yeah, but yeah, that's the issue with the Magnolia. Basically, it's extremely piece reliant. It's extremely resource heavy, and it's a little persona. So not only are you praying for your pieces, you're also praying for persona, and you're also praying your opponent goes full face.
Exactly.
So it's a little out of your hands, basically.
Yeah.
So let's forget that botch. I'll probably edit.
No. I guess.
I mean,
Uh,
oh, you have something to say more about Magnolia? I'll
Yeah.
edit it in post. I'll put a Magnolia picture or something somewhere.
okay, sure. You go and edit it somewhere. Anyway, like some interesting things about Magnolia is like people have been testing Magnolia with the Zorga right chain. Funnily.
I think the
Grade
Zorga
one
right
and grade
chain's.
two.
I think the Zorga right chain's better. Honestly,
Exactly.
it's
Like
just draw two. Just draw two, discard one, and then you grab it back. You grab your discard back. How hard is that?
exactly. It's just so good. That's why even Magnolia is using it now.
Yeah, just don't discard Ghost Chase, because yeah, that's a Blitz order. You can't bring that back.
Yeah.
All right. So,
That's all I have.
Orphis. You Kuro are the big Orphis player, right now. You played nothing but Orphis practically.
Yeah. Can't say I have good memories.
I mean, yeah, people keep CB denying you. They keep aggroing you. They keep ignoring your game plan, or they keep soul charging all your tokens anyway.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Overdress is decent, to say the least. It's a 3-attack deck. That's a problem on its own, right? There's like Zorga exists as a 3-attack deck. That's like it's okay. Technically Nirvana is.
Nirvana mainly plays it. Yeah, you don't unless you're poking. But even then, they should be guarding, so it's still a 3-attack deck.
Yeah. But here's the thing. They reach columns that that Orphis wants very easily.
They also eat it without using effectively without giving up too much hand or giving up their persona rides.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think Orphist is solid. The problem is, without Persona, right, 30k column is the most you can make for the rearguard columns,
Well,
and
not
that's like a
well,
15k, 5k
not
guard.
30k. The thing is, you could call Orphis and get 33, but ugh.
Yeah, no, the problem with that is, yeah, you're calling your Persona, right?
Yeah,
I
that's what I
mean,
was saying. Ugh.
actually, like, if and only if you have a second Orphist and like
An 18k attacker, a second eight, and another 18k attacker not named Orphis, the deck would
that
actually be really good.
I wouldn't say really good, but it's definitely gonna be way better now. But right now, like in those conditions, if you have a second Orphist in your hand, you can actually call one Orphist without losing too much, because like a 33k attacker, okay, column on turn 3
Oh, don't
is
worry, I got this.
very,
I got
very,
this.
very powerful. Yeah, so 33k column on the rear guard it's basically 2 triggers or PG. That's like very powerful.
I
And
mean,
as a 3 attack deck, you have to reach the 33k consistently.
another good thing about Orphis, like a really good thing, is the deck is self-sufficient. It's extremely self-sufficient.
I mean, so Orphis is basically all you need.
Yeah, I mean, just look what I did right here. I'm not even running cards, and I already have all the Orphis cards.
Yeah, but here's also the problem. This is exactly the problem. The problem is Orphis is all you need. That's why Bushi did not design anything else in mind.
Yeah, again, I think the biggest issue is really not having another 18k attacker. That's one of the biggest issues it has.
Yes. Like the other solid card other than Orphis itself, of course, other than the countercharge is grade 1, which is cool. It's cool. Uh, the one other MVP I can say is the grade 1. I think it was called Recharger or something.
Yeah, it's Recharger or something.
Grade 1 when placed on Guardian Circle, you can CB1 if you're Dark Knight, which you will never use this skill while you're in Dark Knight. You get plus 5k shield. And if you're in Abyssal Dark Knight, it's plus 10k shield, which means 15k shield.
Yeah,
Like
and
the extra shield actually makes it so good.
yeah, that's a thing. That's a very important thing we should probably know. This is actually a defensive deck. It's not an offensive deck.
Very funnily so, yeah.
Yeah, so you're basically you have because like even if you didn't have these tokens, right? As long as you hit, and you will have one world. Orphis is always an 18k attack, which is an awkward guard already.
Yes.
So that's already awkward, even if you just do that. And you never have to commit any cards from hand. And the moment they give you 2 CB, you just call your tokens, and then you're like, okay, we're fighting now.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so generally it's a problematic deck. People have played around it. People also have bullied it because like, yeah, it's just a very vanilla deck. It's also a very vanilla deck, we should say. So don't expect much like interesting things from Orphis. He's just a good deck.
Yeah, he's just a beatdown deck.
Yeah, he's just
in the purest sense.
He's a pure beatdown deck. He's purely defensive, kinda, and yeah. Don't sleep on him though. He's good, especially if you misplay around him.
Yeah. Like he's solid enough to to be able to decently have a decently good chance against like top tiers.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's also no like floor and ceiling to him. You will basically always have a game as Orphis, which is one of the biggest upsides to him.
Yeah.
You'll never break, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh no.
You don't think so?
I do not think so. There are some games which you will break, like even if.
Oh yeah, you're right. If you miss the second world, right?
Exactly. So you can brick, but like it's not. It's very fatal, but at the same time,
It's
If you
extreme.
hard bargain for it, you should be able to consistently get your second world by turn 3.
Yeah.
The
It's,
problem is if will you get your second CP by turn 3?
you're never gonna get your second CB by turn 3. Not against Bruce!
Yeah, that's the bigger problem actually.
Bruce and the Dark States decks are essentially the answer to every single one of the Brandgate decks. They essentially counter everything Brandgate does.
But yeah, that's basically it.
Alright. Last one. The most exciting one. Jail. It's really bad.
Call it prison, please.
Prison,
Proper.
jail, same. Horny jail.
No, stop.
Stop,
That's not.
stop, says Kuro. But yeah, it's the same. It's the same. So I don't have the prison card with me, but like prison generally never gets to play the game it was designed to play.
Yes.
The only deck that gives it prison stuff is maybe Overdress. And even then, Overdress has the potential to play around it. Which is really sad.
Yeah. Actually, like Zorga kind of lets you until like they get the.
No, but
pieces
Zorga counters you in a different way.
No. Here's the thing. They do, but like they take a while until they get all all their pieces in.
No, all the adamantuses you mean, basically.
Exactly. Like we have to talk about that. So,
Yeah. So let's. I don't have jail with me, but essentially what jail does is, you basically you prison cards in a set order that you place on like the order zone, and it stays there. You take your opponent's cards and you put them there, and then your opponent can either CB1 to call 2, or Soul Blast 1 to call 1. Not once per turn, by the way.
Yes.
Which is a big problem, basically.
No. Actually, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. It's because if it's only once per turn, it's a big problem. Instead,
Yeah, I guess, right?
imbalance wise.
But
There's a lot of problems with prison though. One of the problems is they gave like three out of the like what five
nations.
five current nations have resist.
Yeah.
Well, two.
Well, one Dark
two of
States doesn't play it, and Dark States still plays around you.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about the two nations that got resist. They have resist, so chances are you're not gonna get your 3 cards in prison to trigger the drive +1.
Yeah.
That's one. And second, let's see. So IKEA, we've already talked about how Adamantis is Adamantis.
Yeah, because
So-
basically that's
Wait,
it.
wait,
No, we
wait,
did.
wait, no,
we did mention
have
why.
not.
We did
have
mention
not,
why.
have
We
not.
just brought up Adamantus. The reason it's so bad is prison acts as a superior call, basically.
Yeah.
Which means on-place effects still happen.
Yeah, so you can recycle all your on-place effects. And Adamantis gives a unit +5k when it's placed. It doesn't have to be from hand. So you're recycling the +5k power, which is a bad thing.
Yeah, it turns out +5 is actually kind of enough, especially because prison's shield numbers isn't that high when people are just calling everything back. It's pretty painful. However, I do like to say it can win games. It's not like it can't win games.
Oh, absolutely. Like all the decks are, at the very least, mostly viable, almost viable at least.
It's just there's definitely fundamental issues with jail and how it works right now.
No, yeah, here's the problem with jail. A decent amount of decks can counter it. Like we've already talked about three like
So,
literally 3
I'll
nations that
I'll
can
just
counter
name
it.
them really quick, I guess, just so everyone's on the same page. Trickster for DE. They just call 2 Tricksters on the rearguard circles, and they bully that. So for Dark States, Barrow absorbs all the units, and he doesn't have to call anything after. Bruce generally doesn't care, and he can actually leave only one rear guard on the field. So, congrats, you jailed them.
No, you're wrong on both things.
What?
On dark states, they do somewhat care early game because soul is a precious resource early on. But once they've hit 15 soul,
oh yeah, you're right.
First of all, they minus you heavily, and second of all, there's a high chance that they have more than 15 soul. Like
you're just giving them more soul. You're also giving them more soul, technically.
Like roughly 17, 18 soul. So like they can just soul blast the surplus amount of soul to just call back whatever you jailed.
And so it doesn't help that it's also it's also generally net 0 on some. Like they minus 1 card from deck, but like let's say they call for Barrow, they call Curtis. They soul charge 2 anyway.
Yeah, and like once they get 15 soul, they only have like 2 rear guards left in the field all the time. And
or even none. Again, there's the option for none.
Yeah, but like two is honestly really fine.
Yeah, 2 is not a problem though.
Yeah, but like they place 2, you don't get your drive +1, so and you get minus a lot if you're trying to push. I do mean a lot because like Prison needs to place their rears to get like what 23k columns before Persona, right?
Yeah.
That's like assuming you get two 23k columns. That's like what 4 rear guards. You got -4, and then you got denied your draft. So yeah, that's a lot of minus.
Yeah, and yeah, then let's we move to Keter. It's Fosad's just sitting in the front.
No. I'm sorry. We need to move on to Bruce first.
Bruce. Yeah.
In Bruce's case, they don't care because they barely use their CP.
They barely also use their soul. Well, they use like you know what I mean, right? They use the soul for 5, but they also generally have extra soul because especially if they have once the Marjories start coming in.
Yeah.
So yeah,
exactly.
And again, they also, if they really don't want to even give you a cards to jail, they can absorb all their units to the soul, which is another issue.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, they have a lot of counterplays against Prison.
Keter is just Fosad. Hey, Fosad says hi, basically.
Yeah, Fosad says hi. Yeah, the thing with Fosad is it's resist. You can't choose it. It's also counter charge 1, soul charge 1. That's like
that's
what?
Fosad's here.
That's like call 3 cards from prison. Yay! Call 3 cards from prison. Yay! Exactly.
So yeah, Fosad says hi. What's the next one? Stoikea. We talked about Adamantus already. Jail actually has a good matchup versus Magnolia, though.
Yeah, because Magnolia has resource problems.
Yeah, and generally Magnolia can't really use if Magnolia's using the resources for jail, it's not using its resources for thing. It also doesn't have the hand to basically fight you.
Yeah, but the problem is it's Magnolia. Magnolia also like loses to a decent amount of other decks.
Yeah, that's also true. Brant Gate mirrors Orphis doesn't give you jail either.
It does not.
And here's the interesting thing. For Orphis, they could if you do jail if you're playing the right chain, you jail 1 card from hand, right? They call the counter charger. They call the counter charger, then they retire it.
Here's the thing. Even if they don't do that, they can just CB2 call 3 tokens and
and then there's their
not care.
They just don't care. They can play around you and they don't care. It's pretty bad.
Yeah. Worst case, they don't have enough CB to call tokens, but he still has 18k on Vanguard. Hey.
Hey. 18k and the deck you think you have a lot of shield, but in reality you don't.
No. If Prison worked, like
if it worked,
it would be incredibly tanky.
But it doesn't.
Here.
I'm aware.
I do not want to discredit prison. So let me talk briefly about it. So there's these two cards. One is I forgot what the name was. The Great
The
One.
triple R, the redhead girl. I think it's
So that,
a rogue something.
yeah, it's Rouge.
Is it
So
Rouge? Like it's French.
yeah, I think it's Rouge or Rogue. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna call it Rouge. Yeah. So Rouge is, I mean, outplay Soul Blast, one prison, one front row. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
The second effect though, plus 5k whenever when
Plus 10. It's plus
there's
10
two
actually.
when there's two cards in prison, plus 5k power, which is great.
Oh, I thought we were
in
talking about
prison
shield.
because
My
you
bad.
need- Because you need all the power you can get.
Yeah.
And then plus 10k shield. That's a 15k shield. That's the trigger. You get an
It's
extra 4 triggers for free. And then we do not discount the other one, the Great One. It also has plus 5k when you have a card on prison.
yeah. The patroller. I think it's security patroller or something.
Yeah,
It's
so
like a little.
you
It's like
have
a little like trash. It's like a little like
trash
Wally
can, yeah,
thing, like the Wally robot.
sure. Yeah. So like that's like 8 cards that gives plus shield. So if prison actually worked properly, they would be very tanky. Very tanky.
Extremely tanky. But unfortunately, that's not the world we live in.
Yeah, but the one problem they do have, even if that worked, is that they have the same problem as Eugene, where they
Don't have a win
They-
gun, right?
yeah, they kind of do in that what was it? Sarah's no
Yeah, Sarah,
is
so-
23k when there's a card on prison.
Yeah.
And then you can boost it with the security patroller we just talked about. It's plus 5k shield, but also plus 2k power when it's a 10k booster.
Yes.
That's a 33k
10
column, which is
10k
very hard
boosters
to
are really
guard.
good, I think, right now. Especially in certain decks.
In certain decks, it's good.
Especially Overdress. Overdress 10k boosters are insane, actually.
Yeah. So any deck that can have the Vanguard reach 33k column without persona, right?
Pretty crazy.
Will
It's pretty crazy.
will want to consider any way they can do that, because it's just great. It's just insane. But that's about it. That's about all Sarasno has.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. It's just an underbaked mechanic right now, and I think majority of the issue is the base prison isn't too good.
Yeah. So okay, let's reiterate what the problems are. One, the prison mechanic is too easy
To play around.
be played around. Yeah.
2,
They printed too many counters for it already on set 1.
3, yep. And no, some nations aren't even playing the counters, and they're countering it already.
No, I think that. I mean, yeah, it's
Like-
only one nation.
Like,
it's only
like dark.
it's only
Like,
dark
we'll
states.
we'll just say dark states. Like has a resist, but even then they don't use it, and they still counter you.
Yeah, because like Stoichia actually play at Matis is what I'd consider a counter. It's a soft counter.
Yeah, and Madness is a soft counter, but I think that's another issue that we need to play. Jail helps your opponent at times.
It does. It does. That's a problem.
That is a huge problem.
Yes.
Lastly,
Lastly, it needs a win con.
it just doesn't do much. Like because you're stuck at 2 jails most of the time, you just don't ever see the hand you should be seeing. You never see the triple drive.
Yeah.
However, don't discredit it completely. We're not going to discredit it completely. It can definitely win games. But
Can
right,
definitely win games,
but
and
right now it's definitely the deck that needs the most help.
it has a very clear very clear image on what to fix.
Yeah, just
So
well, it's just make it. It just needs if like one of the biggest things they could do is they make a jail that's limited how many you can call back from it right away. But
I mean, there's a lot of ways to fix jail. You can do that. You can jail orders. You can jail from drop zone.
Yeah.
You can just
jail from
ignore
hand is
resist.
also interesting.
I would want to avoid jail from hand because that's like a very scary mechanic.
It's a scary mechanic, but like what I mean by jail from hand, because if it's like this jail currently, if you jail from hand, that means the opponent can technically just put a beater that he was gonna call anyway.
Yeah, like at
most, if I see a jail format, it would be either on right, which we
We
already
already
have right
have.
now, or second, it's once per turn on Vanguard only.
Which
That's it.
would be really good. It would be really good. It would prevent a lot of the issues of being played around.
Yes, it would, and it would remember hand destruction to Batama, like.
I do like the note. I do like to note something.
Yes.
The CB1 choose 2 if your opponent rear guards actually doesn't help at times.
What CB1 choose to?
Yeah, because
Oh yeah.
remember, because sometimes you just want to swing into rear guard, but because people are playing around you, you can't use Seraph Snow half the time.
Yeah.
So just it's a very small nitpick, but it does come up.
It does come up, yes.
I do like the note, like you can prevent people looping you if you just use your soul. If you use if you just use like one guy that what I'm saying, right? If you just use one of the rear guards at jail and then you just attack the other rear guard, you can prevent a loop or something like that. Like how Overdress just calls 2 tricksters, then they call 2 Valientes, then they keep calling those Valientes back until they're ready to push you.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's also like a flaw in that problem, is that you're also not advancing the game state. That's also a problem there. Sadly.
Yeah, but I think advancing the game state is not just another list of problems jail currently has.
Yeah, here's the thing. If that becomes a problem, that means like it needs fixing.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're saying though, right? Jail is currently it currently isn't. It's lucky that it's part of the start deck, so it's going to see Festival Collection help.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on Festival Collection because Magnolia and Jail might get really good tools because currently they're definitely in need of tools. At least with the set. When I heard start deck wise though, the Jail was winning a lot. Or prison, whatever. Like initially, apparently during like start deck tournaments, Seraph Snow was actually the top deck.
Here's the thing. That's not surprising.
I guess, right?
That's not surprising because here's the thing. What? I mean, we're kind of talking too long about prison.
Yeah, but
here's the thing. First of all, the start deck meta is way different. First of all, Bastion loses to prison because there's no Fosat.
Yeah.
So like once you use the double power of greed, that's it. You're out.
You're out, right? You're out.
Exactly.
But
yeah, and then let's.
But
like,
yeah.
I mean, sorry. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, but yeah, that doesn't matter. Like the start deck doesn't matter now, especially now that people have counters.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, the like the first set, like the D set, the DBT01, gives like a lot of the other decks counters.
Yeah, it's kind of like overall BT01 was actually a really good set. There's a lot of good cards in there, and yeah, it's surprisingly a lot of good decks at budget. Like even budget wise, there's a lot of good decks. I mean, even then, like the ratios, the game is super budget right now. So definitely, if you want to try to get into Vanguard, get in now. I actually suggest Barrow.
The one thing I do not like about the current set is that I'm kind of scared because like this is the first set and like I think the power level sometimes is I can see it being a bit too high for first set.
I get no. My opinion on that would be, sure it's a little high, but we just reboot. This is the second reboot. If we reboot to a lower power state again.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
People might be turned off a little, even more than they were turned off when they announced the second reboot.
The problem with V is like the first set was completely vanilla.
Yeah, at least this one's not vanilla. There's a lot of themes already going on. Like I'll bring them up again. Overdress, super thematic. It's a super thematic deck.
Yeah.
They're in the soul, right? Zorga, also super thematic.
Prison is prison.
Bruce, while not as thematic as you think, at least it's doing something like unique, right?
Yeah, like Bruce is basically old Spike Brothers, which
Yeah.
some people appreciate. That's the thing.
Yeah, Orphis thematically, like as vanilla as a deck, it's thematically an interesting deck. You
No,
can
I'm sorry to say I don't.
you don't
agree
think
with
you don't
there,
like the Orphis lore?
but here's the thing, the artwork for Orpheus uh sells the card basically. Yeah.
Yeah, Orphis is only expensive because of the art. Don't think about it. It's not expensive because of the power, guys. You don't think about that. But what I was saying is like the both brand gates with the set order thing. That's super unique, like thematically.
Yeah, I agree. With that part, I
They
agree.
even made our boy Morikawa have a deck that works. And Barrow is just pure DI flavor.
Yes.
So we have. So if you're like concerned, like the clans don't exist anymore, they exist. They just look different now. And they're just
It's more like for now at least
Yeah.
for now, a number of them exist. Like a decent amount of them does not right now.
yeah, like
but,
DP in is particular is one that does. Like DP has a vanilla card, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So right now, I'd suggest if you don't have any clans that are available in current Overdress, I'd at least keep up with Overdress news for now.
You keep up with
Yes.
Overdress news, or just buy a Barrow, buy one Barrow and then make a Barrow deck.
Yeah. Anyway, just keep updated because you might see what you want like sooner down the line.
Yep. Other than that, again, Overdress is a super fun format. It's kind of tight right now, especially between the top 5 decks. Games are really decided by like a couple of cards at times, outside of games hit by the Overtrigger.
Yeah, that's the only sad part.
Yeah,
because
that's
sad.
yeah, it's just Overtrigger's a little frustrating right now. Well, not even a little, right? It's just frustrating.
Yeah, and it happens a lot more frequently than.
No, because I think a lot of people that think like it's a 1 in 8 chance, it's like a 1 in 50 chance, don't realize that games take a bit right now. So initially it's a 1 in 50 chance, right? Yeah, sure. But then you realize you remove 3 cards for ride deck. You remove 4 cards for ride deck, right?
Yeah.
Then you draw 5. If you see the Overtrigger, that goes back. So you draw. It's confirmed in the deck.
Well, I wouldn't say confirmed, but like high chances.
Yeah, it's no, but like if you see it like in your if you see it in your opening hand, it's definitely gonna stay in the deck.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you mulligan and then you draw it.
No, I know. But what I mean is you see it in the opening before mulligan.
Yeah.
So then you draw for turn, so you're already at like 39 cards or something. Then you drive check 1. If you're going second, you drive check. You draw another. Then you drive check 1. You draw another. By turn 3, you're already hovering around 29 cards or something. Especially if you have draw effects.
Yeah.
So if you did draw it into your Overtrigger, it's 1 in 29. Actually, 2 in 29 because you double drive now.
Well, yeah.
And essentially, it really stacks up really quickly. It's quicker than people really realize, I feel.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, and that's why it's a little frustrating to say that it's such a low chance. Because it's not actually a low chance, especially if the game goes like 6 turns or 5 turns.
Yeah, agreed.
It's actually a pretty good chance. Like even if you draw it, it can potentially affect the game, especially if you're playing Zorga.
Yes.
Zorga, yeah. So yeah, my final conclusions is Overdress is really fun. It's definitely one of the most. It's definitely a fun format. Oh, but Overtrigger kind of hurts it. It's very much hurts the format, and it cannot remain in the same state it is. Power wise, your Bastion and your Bruce is definitely your best deck, the best decks in the format.
I agree.
Budget wise, especially if you have friends that want to get into Vanguard or like you yourself want to get into Vanguard, consider Barrow. Barrow is going to be is an extremely cheap deck. I don't know how much it is in Japan, yen wise. It's like 200 yen, right?
Yes.
And
It's actually 200.
you only need one barrow, so that's like $2.
Yeah. Like at most here, it's like 380 yen at most. So it's like up to like almost $4.
Yeah,
Up to.
and then it's just double R's from there, which is
Exactly.
I'm gonna say the overtrigger costs about $3 and PGs. Well, PGs shouldn't cost much.
Sadly, in here, sadly, overtriggers costed like what? It was 700 to 800 yen.
Oh, so
which is-
okay, so $5. We'll say $5.
Yeah.
So like you're already spending what, like $10, and then all you need is the double R's, and maybe the PGs. So you already spent like what, $9? You'll spend $15 at most.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine, especially if you're just if you want to just try the game and have a slightly competitive deck. Barrow is definitely the way to go.
Yes, I agree.
Another one may be Zorga, but I'm still not sure on that.
Yeah, I mean, like if you want to like actually spend on triple rares, you might as well spend on Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce is another one. Eden is Eden was pretty cheap in Japan, right?
I mean, compared to all the triple rares, yes. It's like I forgot, it was 500 yen, 600 yen, if I remember correctly. I don't quote me on that.
For a full set.
But, no, for one, of course.
500 yen for Eden.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Average price for triple rare there was like 800 yen at least.
Yeah, but that's also day one, practically.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So like we're talking about day one, and it's Eden still one. Like I think was one of the no actually no. Magnolia was the cheapest.
But you don't even play the triple rare thinking Magnolia.
Let's not talk about that.
Oh yeah, but like we should bring that up though. Magnolia is also cheap.
Magnolia is also very cheap. But,
Because you technically play maybe one of the triple rare at most. Technically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, there's a there's definitely like options if you want to just try the game and have a competitive. The most competitive is Zorga, but that will cost you a little more than the other ones.
No, the most competitive is, remember Bruce?
No, I mean like if you're looking for budget. Oh yeah, Bruce. I guess you're right.
I told you, Bruce is the best budget I can think of right now.
Yeah. Well, no, but Bruce still needs a full set of triple R's, which can hurt.
You also need at least 3 Zorgas, man.
Yeah, but that's not. It's not 4 Edens. It's still minus like 1, unless Zorga's price is extremely more.
Yeah.
You know,
so just look at your local games, card shop, or like whatever you use.
Give me a sec. I'll put the decks we mentioned on the screen, except for Magnolia because I don't have Magnolia. Imagine Magnolia here.
Sure. So yeah, these 3 decks are
4.
These 4 decks are what we call budget, I guess. But the most budget is Barrow, because you can just have one Barrow Magnus, and the deck's very playable. Like personally, like me and some other people might think it's decently optimal actually.
Yeah, it's actually I agree. It's decently optimized already.
Yeah.
Because again, you don't have a way to refresh your barrows from soul, and you tend to soul charge them anyway. And it actually affects your hand if you're turn 3, because at turn 3 you want to see 15. Having a dead card like Barrow in hand actually hurts.
Exactly. So yeah, Barrow's the most the cheapest out of these, and then then actually the second cheapest would be Magnolia.
Yeah.
But power level wise, Magnolia is your worst bang for the buck.
Yeah.
Right now, at least right now. If you expect a lot of Bastions in your locals and nothing else, I can see why you wanna.
Yeah, Magnolia is pretty good there. Magnolia would be pretty good there.
Apparently, it's pretty good against Bastion. Do not quote me on that because that's what.
No,
I've
I think
heard
it
from
is
people.
because Bastion also has a trouble against DE at times.
Yeah,
And
Anyway,
DE's game plan is essentially turn to the deck, and Magnolia can play the same gameplay.
yeah. So yeah, if your locals are full bastions, you can get Magnolia instead. Cool. And then
Zorga's pretty good too.
yeah, so if you want the most bang for your buck, either pick Zorga or Bruce, depending on like your card shop, because
Yeah,
if Eden and Zorga are like closely
expect
priced,
expect Bruce to be expensive later on though. When people
also
when people realize when people realize that Bruce is topping, like especially now, if you just look a quick curious look over the Twitter tag for the JP tournaments post top decks on, Bruce shows up a lot.
yeah, but here's the thing. At the very least in Japan, there are meta decks that doesn't have that many, like, even though it's the best deck in the format, even if it's the best deck in the format, like
Yeah, it doesn't
imagine,
get. I remember the Tachikaze and Murakumo prices.
Yeah, they were like ridiculously cheap, even when they're meta. So, like, I expect the same for Bruce to an extent.
No, but here's the thing about that. Like, the U.S., the Eastern market, the Western market, technically, it's Western, whatever. It technically favors decks that do well in tournaments more than JP.
Yeah. So like, I mean, it really depends on where you are.
Except if it's waifu. Waifu, there's always tax, which is why jail is expensive.
Yes.
And Daisuke, tax for Orphis.
Exactly. Chaos Breaker just made people love Orphis.
Yeah.
Including me, to be fair, but yeah.
Yeah, for Kuro, he wanted to buy jail and Orphis, but nope.
Yeah.
He's gonna wait a week. Gotta wait 2 weeks.
I'll wait at least until like festival set. Who knows?
Yeah, but so Bruce is definitely your bang for buck. But if you might want to consider getting it week 1, especially when people are still unsure.
Yeah.
Zorga is probably it's going to be because it's currently kind of under the radar. I feel.
Yeah, I agree.
Like it's currently under the radar. It definitely has and you just can't beat that. You can't recreate this play on that many decks. Where's my guess case, Jace?
Ghost Case.
Yep. Ready? Sorry, the CFA initially when it updated named it Ghost Case. I don't know why. So now it's stuck. So this is just so hard to beat at times. Especially because there's so many 3-attack decks in the format.
Mm-hmm.
It also beats like some overtriggers, like technically this 50k shield can protect. It technically can protect you from Orpheus's lane, one Orpheus lane, on overtrigger turn.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, especially because it's like it's a 55 shield, actually, because if you do it with the same turn as Ghost Chase, the same motion as Ghost Chase, because because you're still allowed to play cards after you play the order, so don't do that versus retire matchups though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all we need to talk about. Like, yeah, Overdress is fun. These three decks, including Magnolia, if I don't insert the picture here, pretty good decks if you want to try Vanguard. And like everything's kind of balanced right now except for Jill. Like, yeah, some decks are kind of like in bad spots, but it's not that they're unbalanced. It's just they're in bad spots.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, and this has gone on for an hour 30 minutes, would you believe that?
I do believe it.
We've
been talking for too long on a lot of topics.
I mean, it's because it's interesting right now. This is an interesting reboot.
Yeah.
So yeah, So yeah, I'm just gonna end the video here. See ya.
Yeah.
Say bye, Kuro.
Bye, I guess.